Martin Buber when he spoke of the sculptor who was releasing the holy sparks from the stone. And the second is from words from the ancient Hebrew, Psalm 90. Establish, our God, the work of our hands. Yes, establish the work of our hands. I know some of you who have put your hands to the task of restoration. I have noticed your hands. Some have been purpled down by the cuticle. Some have been wrapped in bandages, and some have some stains under your fingernails. So as I pray, I invite you all, but especially you who have worked so much, to look at your hands. Please pray with me. In a time, O God, when the old is too quickly destroyed to make way for the new, when historic places are allowed to decay for want of willing hands to maintain their beauty and usefulness, we gather, giving thanks for all that brings us to this moment. This building and its restoration stands over against shallow values of a throwaway culture. We give thanks for the citizens whose hearts and wills and hands brought this grand old building into being in an era when the building was so difficult and resources scarce. We give thanks for the teaching and the learning which took place within its walls. But most of all today, we give thanks for those who have had the vision for the restoration of this fine place, for their tireless labor, for their artistic touches, and their week-to-week determination to see this project through. We give thanks for the place this building will take in the future of our corporate life. Continue to be that spirit which moves in hearts to envision a restored schoolhouse, or a better Main Street, or a more peaceful world. Be that spirit that lures good people to restore time-honored beauty and call them to labors of love, releasing holy sparks from lords and stones and human hearts. With the psalmist we pray, let your favor, our God, be upon us, and establish the works of our hands. Yes, establish the works of our hands. Amen. Amen.
I'm certainly pleased to see so many people here. I looked at all the seats out there this morning and I said, I hope there's a hiney in every one of them. I thought that I'd bring back just a little bit of this building and its history, not to that much, but in 1876 it was built, and then one cold night some guy come in to get warm and build a fire and burn it down. So it was rebuilt in 1977. We used this as school until about 1935. But during that time, we had the 1906 earthquake, and it damaged the building. It destroyed the bell tower. So in 1906, they floated a $3,000 bond. And in reading it, I got a kick out of it. It said that there's some $300 increments, and you had to pay cash. No credit card in those days. So it was that time that they took the tower down and repaired the roof up there, and that's about the time they stuccoed this because of the cracks and stuff. So it's been here a long time, and I think if you look at the place, the ceiling, there wasn't a thing done to it other than put sheetrock on it. And look how straight it is. After all those that over 100 years old. And I don't think you'll find another building in Lower Lake that I've ever seen that has it done. So I think this building has withstand all the elements, and the good Lord knows it certainly wasn't taken care of after. So in the Masonic Lodge over on 53 now. And then the Greens moved in and used it for several years. During those times, though, that not too much work was ever done on the buildings itself. It was just used and used, but nobody ever really, they cut a few doors and made it handy to get in and things like that. But the structure of the building was nothing much done to it. The Greens left about 1986. And then, about 1990, it sat there all that time, about 1990, a little church came in and they used the, for 2 years, I think it was, before it did. In 1986, a group of us got together and decided to form a committee to see if we could save the old. That group of people were pretty small, really. Roberta Lyons, Roberta Coleman, B. Stockstead, Jane Weber, and myself. Les Parker. That was the group that got together to start this whole thing. And then, from '86 up till the '90s, though, we did have raffling. We sold raffles, we sold cakes, we did pretty much everything you could think of to raise a little money, and we got a little money that back. Then we got some donations. We got enough money to actually get started. And it started in January of '92, the cleanup. I think Kelly Cox can probably tell you more about this than any one other person, because he came out here by himself on weekends and worked by himself a lot of time cleaning up, and believe me, it was. The top side had nothing done to it when the masons left. They tore the stairway down, and nothing was used upstairs but the pigeons. And they used it very good, believe me. There was at least 6 inches of pigeon done on the top. When they tore the ceiling off and where they got under the rafters, this whole floor was that deep in pigeon done. All of it. You can't believe it. Then getting rid of the pigeons was another chore, and the bats, and all that good stuff. Then about in August then, it started painting. We painted the outside first, and we gave it 2 coats. We got paint from the Kanaka Unified School District had acquired a lot of paint, and so we got paint from them, and was very fortunate because all we had to do was just pay the freight to get it here, which I think amounted to about $4 a gallon, and the paint was probably $25 to $30 a gallon of paint, so we were very fortunate there. Then about in November, they had the outside painted, and they started the drywall. Now you may not believe this, but everything in this whole building was tore out and drywall, 5/8 drywall was put in, even the ceilings. And I think we can thank the Kanaka Convention Corps for doing this, because there were a lot of young men and a bunch of old men wouldn't have too much luck with it until they came along. They also did a lot of work in the cleanup of the bad type of cleanup. I really appreciate it, and I think everybody else does, what they have done here. The inside also has 2 coats of paint on all over. Most of the windows have been replaced or rebuilt. And all the doors have been, in fact, this door was repaired as 9'4" door, and the other was built. We had to build it because we couldn't afford to buy one. So it was built, and all the frames around the windows and the doors were all done. Now that's a lot of So, got 1,000 foot of oak flooring, square flooring in there. About 763 of the tile flooring in the office and in the 2 entryways and the bathroom. But the funniest thing, and what I think is the most amusing, is we used 400 tubes of filler caulking compound. When you're doing the outside of this thing, it was just cracks all over. We had to put their cover with cracks. And then inside of it, all these little cracks you see in the paint would have spread it out, so we had to fill those up. So we used, that's a lot of caulking. We are, that is stage 1, and we're just now beginning stage 2. We have a non-profit incorporation, so all donations is tax deductible. Write that down here. We are going to need a lot of money and a lot of more volunteers because the 3 old men are just about wore out. And once, well, one old lady. So this is the only time I get a chance to because he's the boss. So I don't argue with her before. But we do have a non-profit organization now. And we are going to be asking for donations of volunteer labor as well as money. Believe me, the labor is going to be, when we do the top side, it's going to be, take a lot of labor. And I want you all to realize that when we finish the top, it'll be the only meeting hall in this whole county will hold that many people. Or the only hall that you can have plays in. So, at last, we're not the stepchild. The south end is not the stepchild of the north. We got something they don't. The corporation is formed, and James Weaver is the president. Jen Cragen is the vice president. Ginger Kite, treasurer. Secretary Roberta Lyons, and the directors is myself, Wes Parker, Roberta Coltman, Elizabeth Detman, and Roberta Snyder.
Let him come up to the front.
Well, all of the directors and the officers of the corporation stand and be recognized.
And we thank the Knoxville Unified School District for their contribution of the paint that we do inside and out. Is anyone from the trustees here? Oh, yes, okay, but. And Winky Griffin saved some books from a horrible fate. She saved some wonderful old books and presented them to the schoolhouse, and it was through her efforts that they were saved. Mendoville and Lumber made a contribution of sheetrock to us. The Yuba College plumbing class, Shaw Whitney was the instructor. They did the plumbing for the restroom and took out the old restrooms that were here. And the school bell that you heard ringing was a contribution from Edward Voidich, and I don't know if he's here today or not. We'll see that he gets that. Don Gibson, by the time we got through with all our painting and things, these floors were pretty bad. So Don Gibson came in and didn't really refinish. He cleaned and buffed and did a lovely job. Dick Wilson, we had some problems unloading and loading stuff. So Dick Wilson loaned us his forklift and saved us a lot of time. Roberta Hampshire Lyons did some. There you are. We have a dress on. I didn't realize. Jim Jonas has hauled things away for us that were very important. We had 120 bags of star thistle out here. Bags of star thistle, and he took pity on us and hauled it away. Roberta Coltman, one of our members, has made this pictorial record, taking all the pictures. We want to acknowledge her for that. Paul Markham also had some scaffolding. And you notice the flagpole out front of you, and I hope you did. That was put up this morning. Buddy Boyce down at the church at the machine shop dropped everything and made our flagpole so they have it. I know other people have done things and you are, I hope you are going to donate artifacts or things you can use in the museum. That will, we'll talk about that later. Yes, thank you. Don? Elizabeth Dittmar. We all know Betty Dittmar. She was in this Lake County once upon a time, and she has a little thing she wants to bring with the past meets the future.
Well, I'm not so sure I'm the best informed person on this. Jane asked me to speak a little bit in the broad picture of the town of Lower Lake and the little history leading up to the schoolhouse. And the best resources that I have are due to the Lake County Historical Society and the Como Bulletin. Those will be kept here so that any of you who would like to come in and would like to review those at any time can see a lot of things that happen throughout the county and in the specific areas that you live. So Marion, I see you today. We've only spoken once on the phone. And I want to thank you and many of the other people who spent so much time compiling that history so that those of us that like to review those kinds of things have it. Thank you very much. water supplies, quantities of obsidian for arrowheads and spears, hot and cold mineral springs, and are believed to have made a relatively peaceful life, trading among themselves for needed materials. In all, there were approximately 30 tribes around Lake County, each numbering less than 500 people. Each had its own chief and dialect, more or less distinct from the other tribes. All tribal names were drawn from some characteristics of the place where the group lived, and bore the general ending como or napo, meaning people. Along the edges of the densely wooded Cache Creek, it is said lived the Kanapo, or wood people. Before the existence of Lake County, this area was first included in the Northern District of California and a portion of Sonoma during the Mexican regime under General Mariano Vallejo. Later, upon the formation of Napa County, our area was referred to as Hot Springs Township and eventually Clear Lake Township. This is the past meeting the future. While still a part of Napa County, 2 voting precincts were established, one at Upper Lake and one at Lower Lake, along with 2 school districts. These were the years that Lower Lake was known as Grantville, Lakeport as Fordstown, and Kelseyville as Kelsey Creek. Finally, in 1861, the county of Lake was set apart from Napa County. In the early 1800s, Captain Salvador Vallejo, brother of General Marino Vallejo, made several forays into the Clear Lake area, bringing in cattle to graze in our valleys while treating the Indians as subjects and some as slaves. Eventually, Messrs. Kelsey and Stone purchased the livestock from General Vallejo, taking over operations near where Kelseyville is now located. All did not go well between the Indians and these white ranchers, for many of the young Indian males had been taken in the gold fields, never to return, thus leaving primarily older men. Finally, after 2 tumultuous years, the natives rebelled. Messrs. Kelsey and Stone were killed by the Indian subjects due to mistreatment, and as you would expect, U.S. soldiers from Benicia were sent to punish the Indians. From this action, many women and children were killed as well in what is called the Bloody Island Massacre, located near the present town of Upper Lake. This period of events is somewhat typical of the approach and results which befell many of our Northern American natives. But let's come back down to this end of the county. Even prior to the Mexican land grant period, it is believed that some of the first white men traveling into the region were Russian fur trappers and traders. A significant amount of movement took place in this area during the mid and latter 1800s. As you know, the California Gold Rush was a catalyst for much of this migration. Many early white settlers came through the Napa Valley via the local Southern Pacific Railway to Calistoga, and then by 4-horse stage over the mountain, often lunching at the St. Helena Inn. Ox wagons followed under the leadership of a guide, a route via Napa, Hope, and Coyote Valleys into Lower Lake. Due to a lack of white labor caused by the draw to the gold rush areas, many Chinese people were brought into Lake County to build toll roads into and about our area. The Reed Mine Toll Road leading through nearby Morgan Valley was one such road, tediously created through pick and shovel labor. It is said that at one time, Lower Lake had 3 laundries and 2 restaurants run by Chinese residents. Other nationalities came to settle our nearby Birds Valley, which were largely English. A few Irish, Italians, and Austrians settled as well. There were many possibilities for enterprise, considering the abundant natural resources, such as sulfur and borax mines, fir or pine for sawmilling. Fertile land upon which to grow grain would require the building of multiple grist mills. These early beginnings high hopes and disappointments. A significant period in development of our Lower Lake area and having dramatic effect on the rest of the lake area was the creation of the Clear Lake Waterworks Company. The overall purpose of which was and did cause a larger dam to be built on Cache Creek. This was for the potential manufacturing and milling of Lake County's wool, grains, and timber resources. The timing of this project was strategic because a political football was being passed between Lakeport and Lower Lake for the privilege as county seat. At the time Lake County evolved from the Clear Lake Township, two places were designated as suitable locations for the county seat. These were Lakeport and Lower Lake. The original courthouse was built upon land donated by William Forbes to Lakeport. Two men, Herrick and Getz, built a store in 1860, and the first hotel was opened by Dr. Bynum in 1865. Other local doctors included Dr. Craig and H.P. Whiteman, who it is believed purchased the first automobile seen on the dirt streets of Lower Lake. Other businesses included a blacksmith shop, churches such as the existing Methodist and Catholic churches, livery stables, and it is said we had one of the first practicing female druggists. The mail was carried into the county by horseback through Poke Valley, by Howell Mountain from Sacramento. Some newspapers of that era were the Lower Lake Sentinel and the Lower Lake Bulletin. One of our historic landmarks not lost to fire is the Stone Jail. That was built around 1885 at a cost of $200. Native stone for the building was quarried east of Lower Lake, and the Coxey brothers were hired to construct the building. They were also its first customers. Many of you may know that they were arrested for disturbing the peace while celebrating the completion of the jail. What the sheriff didn't know, however, was that the brothers knew the roof was not secured and they escaped. This simplified history review leads us to the historical landmark we're assembled today to honor. The old brick school on the hill, as it was referred to in that date, was covered with stucco sometime in the early 1900s. As you may have read, it was originally built in 1876 by Ralph Nichols, and as Les indicated, rebuilt in 1877. What Les didn't mention is that about $10,000 was raised from approximately 100 residents in the area to construct this two-story structure. Okay. The building served other purposes, and in connecting the past with the future, we hope that, again, the second story will be used for other cultural purposes. Once it was a community center for the town, dances were held on the second floor, traveling road shows, minstrel acts, and even circus acts. Later on, when silent films became popular, the building was used to show films to the townspeople. The Lower Lake Historical School Preservation Committee was organized to repair and restore the old schoolhouse to its 1910 appearance. But more than that, it was the hope and intent of a few dedicated citizens to preserve the school for future generations so that the children may experience and enjoy a connection with the past into the future. Before I complete my portion of the program, I would like to have those members in our audience which personally attended this schoolhouse to please stand for acknowledgement and round of applause.
Dave Carey.
Dave Carey.
C-A-R-Y.
Okay. Maxine Kugelman. Maxine Kugelman.
Rosemary Carey Patel.
Nobody give way.
Elaine Kugelman Wall.
Ariel Kugelman Kenwood.
Bill Everett. I started here in 1960.
19.
Norma Woodruff, I was here in 1932.
Norma Winthrop, 1932.
Catherine Shaw Baker.
Catherine Shaw Baker. Annie Shaw Morrell. Marion Shaw Kenny.
Alton Morrow Park.
Alton Morrell Park. High school and grade. Okay, thank you so much.
Helen Wilson, Hartford.
Helen.
My sister graduated here in, well, she was the first graduation of my new high school, but she had a year to do that. Grace Wilson.
Thank you.
Pearl Bonham. She went here, graduated in 29.
Carol Bonham. Pearl.
So Bonham Road,
Okay, good.
And we have a copy in the back.
Now, Alton, would you please come forward? I understand that you have a special presentation to make to the committee here. And Roberta's going to help with that. And I'll turn it over to Roberta. Mary? Oh, we missed somebody.
Woodrow Cox is my name.
Woodrow Coxey?
I went to high school here, 1926, 27.
Right.
I am the granddaughter.
Where's Arletta? Arletta. She's the granddaughter of the first school teacher here, Albert F. Morrell.
I can't hear it with you.
Six generations have gone from their family.
This is going to hang with honor in our schoolroom. In the front room, we're going to call it, the north room, we're going to call it schoolroom. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Representative Dan Hamburg's office, Ms. Ruth Hunter.
I'm happy to be here. Often Dan can't attend everything in his district, and I get to attend some of the things. I enjoy being here and seeing, reading all, and reading what I can here and seeing what all has been done. It's amazing. So congratulations.
Now we have a representative of our state senate's office, Senator Mike Townsend, where's Fred? Right behind me, that's Fred Honorado.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Senator Thompson, it's a pleasure to be here today. He's actually in Sacramento today, where we're having a full-scale staff meeting, and I would much prefer to be here, to be honest with you. So thank you for the invitation. Senator Thompson introduced a resolution that we'd like to present today to be hung here in the museum. And I think I'll take a few minutes and read a few excerpts from it. Whereas on October 21st, 1993, the Lower Lake Historic Grammar School Museum will be dedicated, and it is appropriate to highlight its legacy